Good morning, traders. Welcome to Trading Together. I'm Mel Gacee. Today is Tuesday, February the 3rd. Here we are in February. How did that happen? Wasn't it just Christmas? All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. This is a really low key, just a comfortable place to get to know each other, to trade together, to do some market analysis. And if you have comments or questions, I welcome them. Traders of all levels are welcome here. There is no such thing as a newbie question. There's no such thing as a dumb question. So please feel free to drop those in the chat. And I see that Anna is here. Good morning, Anna. Welcome. Thank you for joining. All right, we've got an interesting market today. And if you look at our 15-minute chart, it's a little bit looking like a hoppy, jumpy, hoppy, jumpy, rangy mess. Let's take another look at it a little more closely. And this is the 15-minute chart. I'm going to zoom out a little bit and I'm going to add some more days to it. Let's look at about 30 days and get a better feel for this little hoppy, jumpy mess. Gavilan is here. Good morning. And hi. I really do appreciate it. Okay. So this is the SPX. This is the index, this S&P 500 on the 15-minute chart. Bill is here. Good morning, Bill. Good to see you. So when 15-minute, it's a nice way to zoom out and for me, it's a nice balance between the big macro picture of the 1-day or weekly chart and the tiny micro picture that I'm usually in for trading on the 1-minute chart. The 15 kind of gives me a little bit of a view that's not quite so far out, not quite so zoomed in. It's just right? Like Goldilocks. So what we can see on the 15 is we've got this upward trending line right here. And we have a lower trend line moving up. Now this trend line is drawn on a larger scale, so I'll show that to you in a minute. But our upward trend line is kind of going up at a much slower pace than our bottom is. So that sometimes can be the beginning of what we would call an ascending triangle. An ascending triangle is a continuation pattern, meaning that it's the stock is beginning to compress. It's beginning to range and to squeeze down into the point of this triangle, right? So that is what we see happening. We see this movement starting to compress, starting to move into the point of a triangle. As it does that, it's gathering energy. It's coiling up like a spring. Whenever you see a stock moving into the point of a triangle or moving sideways, it is compressing, it is building energy, and it will eventually break that range one way or the other. We don't always know. Formations, but we don't always know. So this is what the 50 is looking like, this upward trending bottom, but the top is getting flatter and flatter. So that tells us we're having trouble hitting this top. And of course, where's the top? At the high. So 7,002 is our all-time high on the SPX, the S&P 500. And we've kind of hit a little stopping point right here at 69.92. So just 10 points under. We're just kind of stuck. And we're doing this smaller and smaller range. We will either break to the upside or the downside, but I will say it's beginning to feel a little bit weak to me. So here's today's chart on the 1-minute. Strong push down right out of the open, and we stopped right here at 69.30, came up and recaptured this 69.50 level. This has been a really important level. Recaptured it and then lost it again. So we're kind of in this sideways choppiness below 69.50 and above 69.30. So that's what I'm watching. I am not gonna go short at this bottom. It looks to me like it could be building a bottom. So I'm gonna wait on that. Let me move over chart. That is my futures chart, which the chart looks almost identical because these are the futures over S&P 500. But we can see on this chart that we are getting kind of, so this big drop at the open and then this ping pong action right in here. And the MACD kind of going, woo, woo, like the Loch Ness monster here, a little bump, 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 right? But not really moving up yet, not significantly. We're just battling this zone right in here. So right now I'm watching that. Now our VIX is sitting up today at 4 points plus, sitting at 17 points. That's a little elevated. We have to always have to pay attention to an elevated VIX. And so we do see the VIX is a little bit elevated. That does tell us, be careful, be aware, we could move down. So let's take a look at our volumes. Volume on our trades at the money, in the money, 692, 6. So the highest volume right now is not even in the money. It's sitting at 697 calls. That is interesting. That's our highest volume on the call side. Highest volume on the put side is sitting right here at 693. That is our highest level of volume on the put side. So right now we're between 693 and 697. Could we make a run up there for 697? I think we could. But we have some conflicting factors happening. So I'm very, very much also have the night before last an overnight low of 681 on the SPY. That's over 100 points below us. Now, do I think we're going to hit that today? I do not. I think we could be building a support zone right here. I don't think at this point, I don't think it wants to drop that at least today. However, we do need to test that low. That is an untested low. It happened in the off hours. It does need to get tested. Usually those get tested within 3 to 5 days. However, it doesn't have to. We can just go along our merry way and keep traveling upward. But I'm feeling pretty confident that low is going to need to get tested. When? No way of knowing. We were supposed to get the JOLTS report. That's the job opening report. But our lovely Bureau of BS, as I like to call them, it's the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. I call them the Bureau of BS. They have decided that once again, we are not getting reports, and that's because we have a partial shutdown this time. It's extremely frustrating to me because these, I don't know. I won't even go into it, but it's frustrating. We should have data. There's no excuse for it. So anyway, that is where we're at. No JOLTS report today. And we have to wait for labor information. So let's see what the market decides to do with that. Right now, we're down 34 points from yesterday. That's significant, but we have been holding this bottom here. So we're in a range right here. I think the bottom wants to hold. I do. But we are also in negative gamma. So that means that if we start getting some selling pressure, we can waterfall down. When we're in negative gamma, we can waterfall down. So just be aware of that. I'm thinking we should hold this bottom in here, but we don't have to. So right now for me, I'm waiting for this range right in here, waiting to see we break the bottom or we push the top. I think it could go either way. It really could go either way. But there is a big dark pool print that I saw come through yesterday. at 691 point, it's either point 0.4 or point 0.6, but basically 691 and a half on the SPY, which is exactly where we stopped, right in here. So as of right now, I'm going to give that dark pool print the benefit of the doubt and say this could be our temporary floor. So I'm not shorting here. If we get a turn to the upside, I will probably go grab some calls. I've traded calls and puts this morning. I'm having a great morning so far. Yesterday I did close the day red. That was a bummer. I clawed back a little bit, so I wasn't as red as I was before. Interesting note on silver. So it is popping up today at 10%. We're up to 79, back up almost to 80 on silver. And gold is also popping up about 6%. And so that is after that terrible drop, we finally got a little love on gold and silver. So we'll be watching that. I don't trade them. I don't like those crowded trades. When I see things going parabolic and going berserk like that, I don't want to be in it. My bread and butter is the SPY, and I do very well with that. So, but yeah, gold and silver popping. So I'm going to load calls right now. I'm going to load the 692s at they're $1.49 right now. I'm not in them yet. I just have them ready. 692s is what I'm looking at on the call side. Waiting to see if our MACD rolls up, if our moving average curls up. Let's see what we get. If the VIX starts coming down again. Audrey, good morning. Good to see you. Thanks for saying hi. All right, little move here. We got all the way almost to the VWAP on this last run, and then a rejection. Actually, rejected off of the 100. That's what this green line is, but it was right there at the VWAP. I'm liking the calls here. I don't have the confirmation yet. I'm looking. I'm watching. We are sitting at 30 points below yesterday's close. Moving averages are just sort of converging right now, and that's because we've been in a little bit of a sideways range. All right, no call just yet. And who knows how long we might range through here, but you can definitely see the range starts over here at about 10 Eastern and has been going for about an hour and 15. So we've come up over it, but by and large, staying right down the middle, which they do like to do. All right, little drop here. No entry for me yet. VIX is sitting right at 17.09, but it's been higher today. So we hit a high over here at 17.4. That was right where we hit that market low. 1024, right there. That was our low for the day on the market, high for the day on the VIX. But VIX still kind of pulling sideways, which is exactly what we're doing in this range, pulling sideways. If we get the MACD to curl up and the whole moving average to curl up, we might take a call here. All right. 69.42 on the SPX. So they still haven't really recovered 69.50. I've got that line drawn right here in this quadrant of my charts. I have the 69.50 level drawn right here. That level needs to hold for the bulls to continue upward. And even though we're below it, we're only below it by a little bit. So when you see these areas or these support zones, they don't always get respected to the penny. Sometimes they do, but a lot of times it's more of a zone. And so I treat these as areas of interest where we can see a plus or minus 5 or 10 points. So I'm always watching to see where if we're below it or above it by a few points, that's okay. I'm still going to consider that the zone, right? The area of interest. All right, little push here. Just not doing anything right now. And we'll zoom out and look at the S&P 500 on the daily, because our overnight high, if I'm not mistaken, our overnight high from last night is another all-time high. I could be wrong, but I'm going to take a look at that. All right, moving down just a bit here. But I'm feeling it's a little trappy. I think they want us to buy puts, but I'm not sure that that's a good idea right now. All right, did you get some nice puts on a large push down this morning? I hesitated too much and missed the bulk of it. I did actually trade that move down, Audrey, and I know how you feel because I have hesitated many times. And I'll say this, Audrey, honestly, it's okay to hesitate. It's much better to be cautious than it is to be too risky. But if you have some things that you're looking at, some indicators, and everything is lining up and you've got an A1 setup, then go ahead and try it. Just if you're nervous about it, if something doesn't feel right, then take a smaller trade. And that's okay. It's okay to take a smaller trade. But hesitation is not necessarily wrong. If you don't have all of your indicators lining up, it's okay. It is okay to hesitate. All right, Gavilan, do you determine the call wall and put wall? I don't determine it, but I do look at the gamma. I do pay for a product. It's called Cheddar Flow, and it gives me the levels where gamma is sitting, the highs and the lows where gamma is sitting at, and that is basically what I call the call and the put wall. And right now, Cheddar Flow has the put wall at 690 and the call wall at 700. Okay, so they moved that up a little bit, but we're sitting in negative gamma. So we always have to bear that in mind. When we sit in negative gamma, it is easier to waterfall down. So even though we have a put wall at 690, we can blow through that if we start getting some selling pressure. So negative gamma has a tendency to waterfall down. Positive gamma has a tendency to kind of move slowly, magnet upward, slow grind upward. That's positive gamma feel. Negative gamma feel can move downward fast. So even though we have a put wall, we can't depend on it because those things change. They change very quickly on a dime. All right. So basically, no puts here. I'm getting ready for a call if they decide to turn this upward. I think they will because we haven't really lost this zone yet. So if I zoom out, you can see the zone. This zone that we've been in, we have not lost it. So we need to be aware of that. Don't try to sell the bottom. Don't try to buy the top. Wait until we get some clear direction. The market will show its hand. The market is a very good poker player, but it will show its hand eventually. Right now, it's got its sunglasses on and its baseball cap, and we can't see what it's thinking, but it will show its hand. It always does. All right, Alan C. Welcome, Alan. So nice to see you here. First time. Thank you for sharing. Alan, I'm so glad that you're here and I welcome you and thank you so much for joining. And thanks for dropping your name in the chat. And Alan, if you didn't hear what I said at the top of the stream, I'll say it again for you. I don't know if you're a new trader, but this is a place for traders of all levels. This is a safe place. I want everyone to be feeling safe to interact here. No criticism. If you have a newer question or a question that you might feel like it's a dumb question, that there are no dumb questions here. I'm here to answer all of your questions and comments to the best of my ability. No dumb questions. And I guarantee if you have the question, somebody else has it too. So feel free to drop your comments or your questions in the chat because I really welcome that. All right, coming down to the bottom of our range, getting closer to it. I'm still not jumping in here. It is tempting, isn't it? It looks like a downward run. It's tempting, but we have a bottom here that we are holding. We have held, so I'm not going to get suckered in until we break that. If we break that significantly, I may consider puts here. All right, Ellen, I found you through Mark Sandwald. Well, thank you so much. And I thank you, Mark. If you see this video, I thank you as well. I appreciate you very much. All right, Ellen, try to trade and I struggle with emotions. That is the hardest part, Ellen. I coach traders every day and it is always the emotions that get us. And I am not immune. I have my emotions. I've just learned over the years that I've learned how to control them. So if they tell you that, you shouldn't feel anything, that's untrue. You will feel. The idea is to discipline yourself and discipline your emotions. So it's kind of like life in general, right? We wish we could tell the boss to go pound sand, but we keep those emotions in check, don't we? Or at least we try to. So that's how trading is. It's not that you don't feel the emotions, you do. You just don't act on them. And that's crucial. That's key. And that's crucial to life. That is part of learning how to be a human, right? We can't always act on our emotions. Thank you for sharing that, Alan. That is the hardest part of all the traders that I coach. Emotions are always the number one issue. All right, so we are pushing this bottom here, getting closer to a break. If we break it, if we break the bottom, I could jump into a put here real quick. But I'm guessing that we don't. We'll see. I don't know for sure. We'll see. Watching the bottom closely right now. 690.9 is our current bottom. With a negative gamma and a rising VIX, we could see it go faster to the downside. If we hold it, if we hold here, and you see the line that's right here, if we hold it and we bounce, then I'm looking for calls. If we break it with a big whoosh, we might take some puts here. Holding so far. All right, coming down, right on it, right on it. There's a little bounce here, exactly what I was kind of expecting or possibly expecting. A little bounce here. I am still holding calls at the 692 strike. Considering these calls if we start to get some confirmation of a push here off of this bottom. I want confirmation in the form of a MACD that's rolled over, a whole moving average that's curled up. Maybe some volume would be nice. We did get some volume on this candle, so that helps. Getting a push. We had a push earlier, almost up to the VWAP, so we bounced it earlier over here and pushed it, and then came back down, back into the range. Right now, it looks like a possible bounce. Right, starting to get a little bit, maybe, maybe a bullish move. Let's see. They're not giving us much right now. It's kind of small candles, kind of quiet moves. Let's take a look at what the Qs are doing this morning. Qs are down 1.2%, twice what we are. That's an unusual divergence. Usually we are closer than that to the Qs. Mags are down this morning 1.3%. So it's interesting that we haven't dropped more, but it's really trying to hold this 690 level. And so one thing that I always say is, we can analyze all we want, but we have to be able to lay our bias aside and look at what the chart is giving us. That's absolutely crucial. And I have traded my bias many times and it has been wrong when something different was staring me right in the face on the charts. So it's really important that we trade what the charts are giving us and not necessarily what our bias is. All right, coming back down to the 691, almost 690 right here, back to this support zone. And if we break it, we will pivot over to puts here. However, it's been in this little downward trend for quite a while, about half an hour. And it really hasn't gone too far. Not too far. All right, pushing that bottom again. Nice little green candle, nothing much of anything right now. And I am going to move my calls up to the 690s. Those are expensive, a little bit more expensive, so watch your position size. So feeling a little weak here. Looks like it wants to break this bottom, doesn't it? And it's trying right there. It is trying. Still in the 690s. Right, little dip below and a little tiny green candle so far. Yep, not breaking just yet. We start getting a strong push to the upside. It could happen quickly. $690.6 right now, where we're sitting. All right, getting a little volume coming in on these last couple of candles here. This could be the turn. Let's watch and see. A little bit of a bounce. And I don't like the put trade here just because it's been in play for so long. Turned and dropped through this support, we might be able to make a quick win, but this has been a trend right here. $690.5. All right, Ellen, do you go live at the open of the market? I don't. On this channel, Alan, I have another live stream that I do on a private platform, but on this channel, I go live at Eastern. Gavilan, I was in that trade yesterday and I sold when you alerted and then it dropped hard. Do you know why it dropped? Let's see. Let's take a look at yesterday's trade. Actually, we're about to bounce here too, so I will take a look at that chart in just a second, Gavilan. That's a great question. Yesterday was hard. I had a red day yesterday. I was able to, I closed red. I closed my day red, which I hate, but I was able to, claw back a little bit of those losses. All right, we're fixing to bounce here, I think. Let's keep an eye. What we're looking for, there goes our HMA. That's what we're looking for. And next we're looking for our MACD to roll up. So I am still looking at I'm going to move it to the 691 calls. I'm sorry for jumping around so much, but I want to stay right at the money. All right. There's a little green on the MACD. Slowly pushing up, but not hard. So no strength yet on this move. Still watching. All right, starting to get a little jumpy here. That's good. It's just a tiny candle right now. So, like I said, not a lot of push behind this yet. All right, little red candle here. No trade just yet. All right, so we're not pushing up just yet. Not right this minute. Yeah, no push up yet. Still at this bottom, still testing the bottom here. I mean, I don't know that it's the bottom, it's the current bottom. They could make a new bottom and we could drop below it. But right now, this right here is the current bottom. All right. Just tiny candles right now. Not a lot of push just yet. BD, good morning. Concerned about hitting 690 first. Yep, we did hit 690. Our low so far is 690.3. So I agree with you, BD. I think that's the low, but we could break it because we are in negative gamma. But yes, I agree with you. 690 is an area of interest for sure. So glad to have you here. No move just yet. You can just see these tiny candles. It's really hard to make any trades when we're just doing this. These are just too small to trade. All right, back to that bottom. 69.29, 69.30. That's kind of the SPX level that keeps getting pegged here. There we go, down through it again, just a little bit. All right, still by its fingernails holding this little bottom here, just by a thread. I mean, it just looks like it wants to fall off any second now, doesn't it? Okay. Tiny candles still, even though we do have a MACD and a moving average that is looking like it's supposed to be bullish, we don't have that move just yet. We keep seeing weakness here. These little red candles, the small candles, just weakness at this moment. When we see them come in with strength and with volume, then we'll be a little bit bolder to take that call trade. So I am still looking at calls at, I'm looking at the 691 strike. Okay. Tiny little push back up again. Tiny little range. Still holding. Right here, you see that line. They just keep holding it. If they break it, I suspect we would drop fast. And we could try to catch a really quick put if they break it. If we get a big whoosh down, we could try to catch a really quick put. It might be hard. Right now, what I'm waiting for is a bounce off of this level. If they would just give it to us. So far, no bounce. And Gavilan, I will go and look at yesterday's chart with you in just a minute. Yesterday, like I said, yesterday was a tough day for sure. All right. Still holding. Just see, look at the size of these candles. They're just teeny tiny little, just very, very small candles. Not a lot of strength in the move whatsoever. It was hard. It was a tough day. And we have them as traders, it's frustrating. Those days really stink. I hate them. I do. I do hate them. But so far today, I've made up for yesterday's loss and then some. So that has been, and that is usually the way it goes, Gavilan. The usually I close my days green or break even. I don't usually close them red, but those days do happen. And if I do close red, most of the time by the next day or the day after, I'm back to where I was or a little bit better. So it is challenging when we take those red days though. I feel the pain because I felt it yesterday. All right, no worries. I'm with you. You're the best. You're the best, Devlin. I am with you too. All right, just holding here, just waiting for a sign, waiting for the market to take its poker glasses off. So we're still basically in this downward trend. I mean, we've been in a downward trend all morning, but we got this little push right here up to almost to the VWAP and then came right back down again. So we will see. When you zoom out, look at how tiny the move is. You can see it, when we're zoomed in, right, we're focused on every tick. But when you zoom out, you can really see just how tiny it is. That helps to give us perspective. Because when you trade the 1 minute chart, you could really get sucked into that micro viewpoint. You got to zoom out every once in a while. All right, holding. Yeah, Alan, of course, you absolutely can contact me. Let me give you, I'm trying to think of the best email. Let's see. Tradingtogether.net is probably the best one. Great question, Maddie. Glad that you're here. Alan, let me get you this or not website, email address. That's the email address, and it is also the website. Um, and then Maddie, do you by chance add to losers to average in? That is such a good question, Maddie, and I am going to answer that to the best of my ability. The answer is yes and no. Um, Sometimes I do, but it has to be a very clear circumstance of the trade has to stand on its own. So if I'm in a losing trade, and if I think that we might still go in the direction that I think we were supposed to go in, I would need to see the next trade set up, and it needs to be able to stand on its own. So if, let's say, I'm in a call and it's going down against me, I would need to see a call trade set up with all of my parameters that I'm looking for, and it needs to be a trade that would stand on its own. Would I take this trade if I were not in anything? And if I would, and if, I still have my kind of big picture idea, and this trade stands on its own, yes, I will average a losing trade. But most of the time, I'll say most of the time, I don't average, because if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I was wrong on the direction, I'm wrong on the direction. Here we go, guys. Getting closer to our call. If I'm wrong on the direction, I'm wrong on the direction, and I don't want to sit there and throw good money after bad, right? All right, starting to push here. This is good. All right, Maddie saying thank you. You're so welcome. One little push, and then it stopped. Just see how teeny this range right here. So we've got a bigger range at play, but a tiny one right here that started at 11:20 Eastern. So this one's been going for about 20, 25 minutes. Teeny, teeny little range. Like not even 10 points, like 8 points here. So these are the ones we have to break out of. So remember, when you see this, just remember the market is playing poker with its glasses and its baseball cap on, and it's not telling you what its next move is. That's exactly what range bound trading looks like. Range bound market looks like. And for scalpers like me, range bound is our kryptonite. It is our kryptonite. You get into a trade like this, and they're just pulling your time decay. They're pulling it sideways. You're not getting anywhere. You're not getting up. You're not getting down. They're just chewing away at what's called theta. That's the Greek that controls your time decay on your options. Because remember, all options expire worthless. They all expire worthless. I trade today's expiration. That means that today's options are going to expire today at the end of the day. So for me, getting in quickly, in and out, is important. And range bound action does not let you get in or out quickly. It just pulls you along sideways. All right, here we are back at our bottom again. Still holding. All right, what's your max percent of loss, 20 or 30? Maddie, you're not going to believe it if I tell you, but my drop dead percentage is 50. And I don't like to hold till 50. Sometimes I do. Most of the time I try to get out sooner than that. But if I hold till 50, I'm still profitable in the long run because I have a really high win rate. But I much prefer to be out by 30 or 40%. All right. I hear you. I understand. Thanks, Maddie. Appreciate it. All right, losing this bottom, guys. Pay attention. Here we go. Starting to lose it here. And move this down a bit. All right. We could pivot to puts here. We're going to have to be careful because we've been moving down for quite a while. But if I were to trade puts, it would be the 691s. We're still in SPY 690, 690.5. So we haven't gone too far, but they're just dropping it just incrementally, just tiny, tiny little new leg down, right? Do you see it? So here's this new leg down. From here to here is a leg down. And from here to here, we're legging down, just tiny, tiny little legs down. All right. Still sitting in this 690 zone. And while we're waiting for it to bounce, we can try and look at yesterday's levels, Gavilan. We were in, all right, this is yesterday. What were we in, Gavilan? I think we were in puts yesterday, right? But you're talking about a drop down. Are you talking about at the end of the day? Because I think we were in puts yesterday and it just kept climbing is what I noticed. So you'll have to let me know. Sorry to be a bother, but the email shows to be invalid. I'm sorry, Alan. I've been making some changes to the website. Let me, 696 puts. Yeah, we were in puts. Yep. So, but it wasn't really a strong drop. There was a drop toward the end of the day, but mostly yesterday it was a climb. And those puts, yeah, those were, that was tough. It was very tough. Okay. Thank you, Alan. I was wondering about that email. The the website is under construction and we've been making some changes. So let me get you a better contact info. Let's do Mel Gacee at Gmail, I think is the best one. Yeah, Mel Gacee at Gmail. Let me drop that in to the chat. Got to go to work. Reach out to you later. Okay, Alan, it's Mel Gacee at Gmail. Have a great day, Alan. Thanks for joining. All right, still sitting here in this 690 zone. Alan, yes, and thank you. Great. Gavilan, around 1. Yes. That we dropped around 1. Is that what you're saying, Gavilan? And you were asked, your question is, why did we drop? And the only answer I have is there is weakness in the market right now. And so, yeah, okay. So there is weakness, right? So we're down 45 points right now. And I was feeling that weakness yesterday as well, but yesterday they really pushed it. So I do think that there is weakness. I think we could turn and make a new all-time high. It could happen, but we are feeling this weakness that's going on. There's geopolitical stuff. We saw the one thing that's really got me cautious is that overnight low that we had, not last night, but the night before. And that's part of what had me bullish or bearish yesterday, Gavilan, was that 100 points below us, 100 points below us. That's how low we got in the overnight session. And we opened with a push up and never looked back, which is really unusual. Usually you'll see that overnight session when we've got an extreme like that, you'll see that get tagged. So I do think that that low will get tested. To me, it has to. I mean, it doesn't have to, but to me, it should get tested. And so that's part of the reason we're in kind of a negative feel right now in the market. That's what I'm getting. So, all right, the red candle, then it bounced. Yeah, it was tough. Right after we got out, it dropped. Which does happen. And that's frustrating too. You're exactly right. That's frustrating too. Sometimes you just take the loss and then boom, it goes in your direction. That is really frustrating, but that is part of trading. You just have to, unfortunately, you just have to sort of deal with that. Okay, let's get back over to RES. All right, so we are getting close to the end of the stream. I would say this. I'm 50-50 right now on the direction. This is still range bound, even though we took this step down here. This is still range bound to me. We're really staying in this 690, 691 zone. If we get a bounce with the MACD rolling up, with the Hall moving average rolling up, a convincing bounce, not a little one. These have not really been bounces. They're just little nothings. So if we got a convincing bounce to the way up with some, with a little bit of growing volume, growing candles, I would go with calls. If we start a descent down here below this low, a faster moving one, I would take puts. But even these little moves here, you wouldn't really be able to trade that very well. You would have had to been holding from over here, which is a long hold. But I'm open to doing both. If we get a drop that's hard down through this bottom, I am open to puts here. But I'm thinking it's more likely at some point in here we should get a bounce. That's what I'm thinking. Doesn't have to be right, but that's kind of what I'm watching for. And so a bounce to the upside with some volume, with the MACD, with the moving average, the whole, all confirming, then we would take a call. And you can see right now, look at the whole. It's pretty much just sideways. Not really up or down. It's really just giving us sideways motion here. So no trade right now. Sorry, that was disappointing. But when we are in chop like this, it's so much better just to sit on your cash. Remember, always remember, cash is a position. It really is. And it's okay to sit on your cash if you're not quite sure about what the next move is. That is okay. And it's also okay if you miss the move. It's okay because capital is king, right? Hang on to your cash. Don't be risky with it, okay? All right, guys. I appreciate you so much. We are done for today, but we will be back again tomorrow morning, and it's going to be at 11 a.m. Eastern. Thanks so much for joining. Thanks for your comments and your questions. You guys are the best. We'll be back tomorrow, and we will see you then. Bye for now.